Hi, and welcome to a very special Coworking, a podcast about what makes Coworking special. And this month, we're talking Coworking with Thilo Utke, the founder and SEO of Cobot. He's been doing many different things in the coworking industry. We'll talk about that in more details later. And first of all, Thilo, thank you so much for being here with us this month.
And thanks for asking me. Very excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. First of all, let's talk about what you're doing right now in coworking, and then let's dive into how you got into coworking in the first place. But right now, what are you doing? What is Cobot, and what's your mission in coworking right now?
Okay, that's easy. Like, I'm one of the three founders of Cobot, co-working with soft spaces to manage, or actually the founders or operators, staff to manage the space. And the mission always has been to enable more people to run a co-working space. So that also means we are mostly focused on independent spaces. So basically make people start a co-working space
Yes.
or make it feasible when you are not so big yet. And hopefully, and actually not hopefully, it happens quite a lot now that we grow with these spaces. They're quite big, and this is nice to help people on that journey.
To be with them together on the journey. That's great. That's amazing. But that's not how you started in the coworking industry, was it? When did you first learn about coworking?
Actually, came to co-working without learning about co-working. And I think that maybe also explains for me what motivates me is from the beginning when I studied, and I think most people are in a way when they study, they're dissatisfied with the status quo, how things are. For me, that was a lot about when looking for a new job, what kind of opportunities I had to actually take on a job and what kind of things I could do in that job. So I decided to not get a job, but instead join forces with Alex, who studied with me and is one of the co-founders, to found a company. And that was about software development because that's what I learned. And very soon, that was around 2006 when we were finished. Our first shared office was 2008 when we actually invited people over for events to learn from them and to share what we learned, check what we're doing is right and makes sense. And then during that event, we also opened up the space. We didn't know about co-working back then. We learned about kind of new ideas of work through a conference which was called 9 to 5.
Yes.
We're actually running from 9 in the evening and 5 in the morning. And there was a talk about shared resources for work by a professor called Friedrich Bergmann that probably a lot of people heard of. And we were like, yes, this is exactly what we want to do. And by 2009, we learned that there's such a movement already globally called co-working. And this is also when we opened our first space, officially called co-working space. We already had some people from our smaller shared office.
Yes.
And because that was very overwhelming to actually run a real space. And we made lots of mistakes that also I think people still do nowadays in terms of how we set our pricing. Because it was basically, we just looked what are we spending and how much do we need to take to not lose money?
Yeah.
To come back to how that leads to Cobot, we did not have time to manage it. And we were a software company at that time.
Yes.
So we thought, okay, we built something for ourselves. And also we were searching for ways to not consult for other people's anymore because we were building software for different clients as a consultancy. But we always wanted to do something ourselves. And so then also in January 2010, after testing internally, we decided to publish Cobot to the world and started this product. And kind of also, started this whole sector, I think, in the industry because there was no co-working software at that time.
Yeah, super interesting how you said you came into coworking without learning about it because you just said, hey, let's do something else and let's do events and let's share the office. And oh, actually, it's good coworking. And yeah, so in around 2006, 2008, you start your own company, you start sharing a space somehow, and you have your own coworking. But that's not the case right now because, as you said, you're a software company, you're not a co-working space. So you took the difficult decision to choose one of them.
Actually, it was not difficult. It was
Okay.
not difficult. It felt right because
Yes.
the co-working space, as I said, for example, we made the mistake choosing the prices by our costs and not
Yes.
by the value we create. And that's something that I learned later. And then also was very adamant when I talk with other founders, is, don't do this, don't do that. Because that really limited the way we could develop the space. And of course, there were ways, like in the beginning, we had a very, very good growth because there were not many co-working spaces. And us also within our niche, because it was mostly like people working with a laptop and doing coding, we had quite a demand for more space. And we wanted to expand to another floor. But because we did not have any money, we could not really afford it. So we turned to the community and did a crowdfunding campaign, which worked at that time. But also it was a lot of ad hoc work to do a crowdfunding.
Yes.
So you have to really lean in the community. You have to prepare that. You have to communicate a lot. And it would have been much smoother if we like planned financially to have some money earned in a year to actually invest in the future and the growth of the project. And also because we did not do that, the co-working was not losing money, but it was also not making money.
Yes.
And there was no potential. While for the software, we could see, I mean, there was potential in a way, in other ways, but not as growing it as a business. But for the software, we could see that there was a clear demand.
Yes.
And we also priced it right from the beginning, almost right from the beginning after learning a little bit how pricing can work, because we never had done it as us at the time. And there was a little knowledge out there. So it was a bit of experimenting.
Yes.
We grew that on the side. So we were still doing software business, which basically financed the co-working space and the development of the software. At the beginning, only Alex was working on it full time in building it.
Okay.
And as things grew, of course, then we took on more people. We had a team.
Yes.
We always care for people. This is why we run the co-working space. And we were very close also with the first generation of co-working. We know them. We were involved in their product. We even used technology that they were advocating in Cobot, because we had firsthand basically insight because of that network that we had in the co-working space. And that was the other capital, which was actually at that time more valuable to us, that we had building a network that helped our consultancy, because we were giving out, or we were not giving out, we were finding contracts and also could take on bigger contracts. We ran it as a liquid agency. So although we were only 2 or 3 people, for example, Kristina at that time was already a freelancer working with us. She was one of these first generation coworkers, and later became a co-founder, because through all the work that we did with her, she, for example, designed the Cobot, the mascot, if you know it, but also she like provided all the initial like website and graphics and helped us a lot in the early days. But yeah, coming back to that, so we had this network and could take on bigger jobs than just for 2 people. So we constantly like took people from the co-working to help us work on project and forward and the top part of the income. And that allowed us then to have enough resources to develop Cobot, while it was still too small to really pay for a developer. But that quickly changed. And then, as said, we hired people. And at the same time, people changed in the co-working space. Some grew out of the space because it was only like around 25 desks. So no new people came in. I was still running the consultancy. Alex building full-time Cobot. And then I got more involved. We had more people, and we didn't know the new co-workers so well anymore. And we hired a community manager, and the second generation was still cool. We still had like events together, but at some point the team for Cobot became so big that this became all community. And I think this is the same thing that you struggle when you take in a bigger team in an existing community.
Yes.
That they have their own ritual and their own things.
Yes.
So it's harder to integrate. And then the space kind of ran itself still. But then people came in that I barely knew the name. And we kind of outgrew it. And that was the point when we decided to sell the co-working side and keep still part of it as an office. But then also shortly before Corona came, we realized we made a survey among our people where they like to work. And most people said, actually, we like to work from home. And then we were like, okay, we don't need this big office here anymore, like this floor that was a former co-working space. So we gave it up and that was right on time because then Corona and all the homework was already happening. We moved into a at the time. That was also very interesting because that gave us insight how this differs from co-working. And at first it was very attractive because it was very shiny and very seamless. But now I'm calling from a co-working space called Workish. And we are very happy here because actually we still like being around the co-working space because what we learned, we still like to be around people that care about the stuff they do. And also it provides a different kind of stable environment. Although it's not as polished maybe as a service office, but it's more stable people-wise. And we like to know the people that run the events, that take care of the space. And we feel more part of a bigger community here. And actually now sometimes attend events and join them.
Yeah, I love this, how it has evolved, because as you were saying, Cobot was small in the beginnings and it grew and it became your main activity and where you spend all your time, where you spend all your energy. And at some point, you have to say no to project because you don't have the time or the energy to take care of them, not because you don't like them, because you have something else going on and you cannot do everything. You have 24 hours a day. So you have to make choices. So you made choices, the choice to focus on Cobot and to sell the co-working space. And I love how you went to co-working, to working from home, to business center, to co-working again. And surely it evolves. It doesn't stay, it's organic. It doesn't stay in one place all the time. And that's what I love about co-working is that it's so flexible and you can put a tiny bit of co-working or no co-working, then go back to co-working or be in a co-working space every day or once a week or whatever as you see fit in your life right now. Yeah.
I think this is the big strength of co-working and always has and always is a challenge.
That's well presumed. What about right now? So you're fully on Cobot, or do you still do a bit of consulting on the side? Yes.
As you said, you have to make priorities, and that's what we did, and we learned and still learning.
Yeah.
Because we had to ask how can we make the biggest impact on this co-working, and that was definitely the software. That's what we're good at. And also in that case, like, where do we want to have the software to go? Because as we said, like, you can go in so many different directions. And it's good that there are more co-working softwares out there now, right? So this gives operators a choice and they all have different strengths. And I think you can still see that, or I hope that we stay true to that we want to support independent operators.
Yes.
But as I said, co-working is always changing, so it's always a challenge. And I have to say, when I look back, it was much beginning. Although you don't have all the tools and all the knowledge out there, you didn't have all the complexity either. Because co-working now, it has to become so much more, right? First, there's the expectations of coworkers already, because everybody in the beginning, nobody knows what coworking is. Now people have clear expectation. You have to be way more professional. You have to have impeccable infrastructure. Nobody will take up with you anymore if your internet is slow or interrupted. At the same time, you have to really differentiate yourself. And there are more revenue streams that is also potential, but it also means more complexity, like
Yeah.
meeting rooms for internal and externals, offices. Because like we know right now, like offices since Corona, like offices have been a major revenue source, even for independent spaces. And then you have to see, okay, I have offices now, but I don't want to have these people like isolate and disappear in these offices. They still should contribute to my community here, right? So that makes it much harder. You have more competition. You have more different kinds of customers. It's not just the like independent laptop worker anymore. This is like the professional worker. It's the work from home man that is or home dad that is sick of working from home. Also, I think people have become more complex, especially after Corona. I think it's not a trauma, but like it has been a collective experience. And there are people coming for different reasons now to co-working spaces. Some just want the amenity to just do their shit and don't be disturbed. And they're very sensible to social, and there are people that seeking connection and social interactions more. And in general, people have become more sensible and less patient with each other. And I think this is also something which co-working help nowadays to maybe still healing this. I think.
It's so true. As many people said, Corona, it wasn't remote work, it was work under quarantine. And so a lot of people had very different experiences of remote work. And then WeWork became big, and that became also the standard of co-working. While some people say, no, this is not co-working at all. Co-working is something completely different. It's all over the place. And it's much more complex than it used to, when you could just open your living room and say, hey, come to sit at my table in my dining room, and that's my co-working, and that's how you start. Now there's so many kinds of things that you have to really know your niche and what you want to do and why you want to do it.
And that's why Cobot still like evolves, and there's always things to add. And also because we are international, it's not only the software, like legislations change, taxes change, how you apply taxes change, right? How you have to report your invoicing. And these are all things you have to take care of in a way as somebody running a co-working space. And this is something where we can see as helping people to deal with that. So it's not just the software that we provide, it's also all the knowledge which we push into the software. And that is then done for you, so that you might not even notice this. But basically just by, you don't have to deal with your tax consultant so much, or they are happy because you hand everything right.
Yeah.
Or
I know that.
Or is it just like finding that information on a blog or in a newsletter? We learn about it. We also try to like share it with our community.
Yeah, so it's not just adapting the features, it's also sharing the information. And you could say that you're a bit of a media company on the side as well, sharing all that information, because that's important as well.
This is actually the role that I have right now. Is a little bit like
Okay.
the communication marketing part that I'm overseeing. Luckily, the faces Georgi and Rosie that you might see on news, like they actually do the hands-on work and provide and share the knowledge. Well, I just look what kind of topics and on the horizon that and the kind of legal changes are important for everyone. Or also the bigger concerns, right? That you find at conferences, also why people talk about hospitalization of co-working.
Yes.
What does it actually mean? And is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What does it mean in day-to-day business? How can this impact the revenue? Are there new revenue streams that you can open up as a co-working space? How can we help with that? How does it change the existing offering? Yeah, and also, like you said, what is co-working? Where does it start? Where does it end?
Mm.
Kind of flows do we want to support? How do these
Mhm.
change? Right? Especially like now, I think more things become more ad hoc, more spontaneous.
Yeah.
People expect to do things on demand from their phone, looking. People don't like keys anymore. Actually, these the hardware solutions become more affordable for smaller spaces as well in the software. So how to integrate these? And yeah, and let's not get started about AI, right? This is changing everything right now.
Yes. That's super interesting how you're staying in touch with the working industry and how it's important to get the right information as soon as possible to implement it and to change and to evolve with the co-working spaces, with the co-workers alongside. And that leads to my next question is what's next? Do you already have a roadmap, a very concrete roadmap, or is it more organic, or do you react to whatever information you learn? How are you planning the future or not planning?
No, actually, we plan a lot, and it's very much driven by the feedback that we
Mm-hmm.
receive from our customers because we have such a wide base now. So that we really regularly run surveys. And right now, which is pretty much imminent, and which we just posted about, is that we really want to improve of long-term contracts in office space, which
Mm-hmm.
has been possible, but not, I would say, a first-party member of our software so far. And we have seen that this has been increasing demand also among independent spaces as an important revenue stream. So the next thing that is coming right now is like a big upgrade, a major upgrade to that. And other things that are a bit on the horizons is, of course, also with when we talk about professionalization, that how we look into our data, like we have a lot of how we can help people to access this more. So this will become something that will probably comes next, but it's not so fixed yet. And of course, then there's the bigger thing of AI, which is changing the work of everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
internally, I can already say we use it a lot in
Yeah.
all
Okay.
departments. Yeah, helping us drive our development because it's really good. Not, I would not say writing code. I mean, of course, generating code, but it helps like when you work with something that is unfamiliar and new stuff. It, for example, it really helped with our mobile app, which was a first for us, and to like the knowledge and really iterate on that one. But also
Mm-hmm.
for our product team, we use it a lot to do prototypes of the interface, try things out very fast, which
Mm-hmm.
took much more time. And also for communications to review, which before somebody has to manually review, even for these basic things, is the structure consistent? Is the formatting consistent? These kind of things. Did I not put
Mm-hmm.
any contradictions in the text? So we can we still want to write the text as a human, but like all these like tedious tasks has become much easier of effort. And of course we want to bring that into the software.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's also this big reservation because these AI companies basically strip mining knowledge from the internet, right? This is a big
Mm.
critique
Yes.
that it takes everybody's content and they make it their own and they're not really paying back to that. And also there's the whole, especially in Europe, the whole question of like data protection. So
Mm-hmm.
how do we provide these kind of tools in a trustful way and so that it
Yeah.
stays within the operators? Because of course we could just add it on and put some processes around it, and then you can infer and ask about the data that you have in Cobot. But for that, you right now would have to send it somewhere, and then it's not your data anymore. This is a big challenge that is still because also this is still a moving target that's moving so fast. But that is something which we look into, and
Yeah.
that we will want to really put in the hands of
Mm-hmm.
operators.
Yeah. That's crazy. As you were saying earlier, it's so complex. It's not just AI, it's everything going on, and it's about understanding the current needs and the co-working spaces. So tough jobs there, huh?
So actually, it's very rewarding. You can see, like, we now have contact with so many of our customers and seeing how they succeed, especially like when we go to conferences and meet people and talk with them. Then this is like payoff for all the frustration. Also, like coming to reacting to things. Sometimes there are regulation changes and we know about them and we prepare for them. And then 2 weeks before they come into effect, the government decides, oh, we are not ready yet, and then they cancel everything. And then you think, oh my gosh, we pushed so hard to meet that deadline. And
That's life.
now the whole country decides to, okay, 2 weeks before.
Yeah. But that's what makes the work interesting too. It's because it is complicated and difficult that it is a job. Otherwise, it would be, I don't know, for fun, 1 hour a day, something like that. Yeah. And we're slowly coming to the end. But before that, I wanted to ask you if there's anything else you wanted to talk about before we leave there.
I think what I really want to talk about is if somebody sees that and thinking about starting a co-working space, grab the people you trust that want to do it with you and just start. Like, don't be afraid. There's so many help out there. Ask for
Yes.
help. I think that is also still something that I see a lot of people struggling on their own, running their space, and trying it on their own and don't take the time because they think they have to do this now themselves to look for help, to go out, to connect with the local co-working network, and to look at the software, to go to a conference and ask other operators. They're out there. I'm always surprised, even like in Berlin, I sometimes find co-working spaces like, how can this be? Like, we're so well connected and there's people doing it on their own and struggling.
The more the merrier.
And I think if somebody sees that, they're already doing good first step. They listening to a podcast.
Yeah. There's so much content out there. That really made me remember about a former client who's a co-working manager in Canada saying, how is this so complicated? Why do I have to do it from scratch? Isn't there a blueprint somewhere? And I was saying, oh, well, there's a Canada co-working conference, there's a Canada co-working association or something like that. And then there's all that content online, but you have to look for it. You have to look for the people. And as you were saying, ask for help. We don't ask for help enough. I don't know anybody who does. So ask for help. Yeah. That's well. If people want to know more about you, about Cobot, how can they contact you?
I think the best way is to find me on LinkedIn, where I'm personally active. Otherwise, all the Cobot social channels like the Instagram. And also, there's a newsletter, which I'm working behind the scene, but actually mostly Georgi and Rosie.
Yes.
Yeah. LinkedIn, I think, is the main source if you really want to touch with me.
Add your LinkedIn account and all your social media later in the show notes so that people can easily find them. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your passion about co-working for all these years. The work you've been doing is amazing. I'm subscribed to the newsletter. I always love it. I think it's so practical and I like how short and very down to earth it is. So thank you.
So, thank you.
Let's catch up.
Georgi and Rosie would love to hear that. I will let them know.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and let's catch up again on LinkedIn. Bye-bye.